Welcome to a new episode of Film Seizure at the Movies. I'm Geoff Arbuckle, co-host of the Film Seizure podcast that you can catch each Wednesday morning with my cohorts, Jason Oliver and Chuck Moore, and my solo show, Monster Mondays, that you can listen to each Monday afternoon. You can catch both of those shows at filmseizure.com. This time around, I'm going to talk about one of the more anticipated movies of the whole year from where I stand, at least. I'm not kidding. Weird, the Al Yankovic Story was among the most anticipated movies this year for me from the very moment I heard that it was being made. Weird Al Yankovic is one of those kind of one-of-a-kind types of performers. I don't know how far his reach is in terms of adoring fans will go exactly, but for those in the Gen X crowd and some of the older millennials, Weird Al is almost as ubiquitous as, I don't know, Nirvana or Pearl Jam or maybe even Tom Petty. Certainly, if you are of a certain MTV kind of age like me, it's hard to think about the videos for Michael Jackson's Beat It or Bad or Madonna's Like a Virgin and not think of Yankovic's Eat It, Fat, or Like a Surgeon. What I'm getting at is that he's a pretty big deal for people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Now, what's great about Weird Al is that he is far more than just a guy who takes the music and lyrics of another performer's and twists the words around and plays the accordion on the track or what have you. While he's wholeheartedly parodying the songs, he's also covering the songs too and making them his own, like someone who is doing the song straight-faced. And that's kind of special as it is, but there are two more elements that I don't think people think about that much. First, he doesn't just do parodies of existing songs. He also does parodies of stylings as well. One of his bigger hits is Dare to Be Stupid, which is a wholly original song, but done in the style of new wave rock done by the likes of Mark Mothersbaugh and Devo. So he's not just funny because he could twist the lyrics around and mostly sing seriously about food. He is actually a master of the pastiche. And on top of that, he is likely a musical genius. His parodies come usually pretty quickly after a song hits big, and his band perfectly and expertly copies the exact sound of the original. It sounds like what's backing Al is actually the original band. They are maybe the world's best wedding band that you could ever hire because they perfectly play other people's hits. He knows how to translate that. Then, when he does pastiche, he knows what's catchy and what sounds right. I swear to God, my favorite of all of his songs, Midnight Star, is just as good as any early to mid 80s pop song. And that song is just singing about silly little headlines and stories and tabloids. It's hardly a pastiche of anything outside of pop music of the era. But it's such a well-orchestrated song, I'm almost lifted off the ground when I hear it. And the true magic of Weird Al is that he has an understanding of music that goes beyond the lyrical and notes and composition. He knows what songs are popular and why and how to follow that in his own way and still, 40 years later, still be able to play that song on stage and get everyone excited and happy to sing along or bob their heads to it. While some of the songs he may parody might go out of style, Weird Al and the versions of those songs do not go out of style. It's amazing how he's able to kind of have this decades-long career like this at the level he's been able to keep it at since I was a little kid. So to me, Weird Al is someone I can listen to at any time and in any place and want to continue to listen to him. If I start a playlist, I don't want to stop listening to it. Certainly after watching this movie, which I swear I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. Like the other recent biopics about musicians, I wanted to listen to Weird Al for hours and hours on end. He keeps me connected to that little kid Geoff who grew up listening to his self-titled first album, or the Dare to Be Stupid album, or even worse, or my favorite of them all, Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. It makes me want to watch his movie UHF. I remember seeing his first mockumentary he made back in the 80s that was a parody of the Complete Beatles called The Complete Al. Both The Complete Beatles and The Complete Al are both movies I still watch to this day. And it's, like I said, it's still something that I throw in my DVD of every now and then just to watch, just to remember the kind of nostalgic good times I used to have as a little kid watching that. It's just fun thinking about Weird Al and listening to Weird Al. I also learned about people like Dr. Demento and other parody acts from different eras because of Weird Al. Some of that had to do with my oldest brother. Some of it was the Spike Jones stuff that my maternal grandfather had in his collection. But what I'm getting at is that Weird Al is a very large part of my life and helped shape a lot of my sense of humor. So, with that, let's now talk about Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. Simply put, guys, this is the funniest comedy of the year. This is everything I wanted from the trailer and the first pictures of seeing Daniel Radcliffe in his Weird Al getup. This is a perfect parody in the parlance of what a parody should be, but also of how Weird Al would want this subject to be approached. It's got the opening that has the rock star at his lowest point before it backs up to show him in a troubled youth where he has to hide his appreciation for Hawaiian shirts and polka music from his conservative, stuffy suburban parents. He's got an overbearing father who wants him to get a job at a factory that we find out which we never know what they actually make at the factory, which is a pretty funny running gag. He's got a mother who asks him to be different than anything and anyone he ever dreamt of becoming. It's just all pitch perfect parody delivered with a straight face. It's well known that his parents were both strict in his upbringing, but also very supportive of him. The strictness is taken to the nth degree for the comedic effect in this movie. But there is so much more about this movie that is absolutely perfect when it comes to how these biopics are made and constructed. Real life, spoiler alert, is not kind to drama. Sure, you can have stuff like Bohemian Rhapsody with Freddie Mercury actually having AIDS. Yes, that is true. He was an AIDS patient. He died from the disease. You can have Rocket Man explore some of the more self-destructive habits that Elton John had. Yeah, he was an abuser of substances and of alcohol. These are all very dramatic things. Of course, you have these, but timelines in both of those movies are extremely wobbly to fit the drama. I know far more about Weird Al than I do Queen and Elton John combined, even though I like Queen and Elton John a lot. But I knew that Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man were saying some events or some songs or some certain things in life were happening before other events or albums or other big time moments, etc. If it makes for better drama, then the movie will demand a rearranging of those truths. Even Elvis, to a certain extent, did that too, where you really have to try to figure out what the timeline is, and it can sometimes get a little bit distracting when you're watching it. Well, that's done all over the place and Weird, and it's fantastic because I know this is done in these types of movies. I honestly cannot express how happy this movie makes me when it comes to playing with those biopic tropes that twist and stretch things in this way. It's maybe something only 1 in 100 will spot and smile or laugh along with, but I guess that means I'm kind of special in that way. I don't know. But there are 3 things in this movie that sends the whole thing over the top for me. First, how Daniel Radcliffe plays Al in the early stages of this career of his. as he goes from working out the famous parody of My Sharona that becomes My Bologna, to him and his roommates figuring out how to record it in a bathroom at a bus station, and his naive excitement over sending off his demo tape to a local radio station and expecting to be a massive star immediately, only for his roommates to tell him, it's like, yeah, this stuff doesn't happen. Only for then, moments after he came home from sending the tape off, the guy he sent the tape to played it on the radio, also has been playing it all day on the radio. It's hilarious. It's so likable and earnest that you just feel great watching this movie and this character. I don't know how to really explain how it felt to watch these early scenes. It's just so much freaking fun. Next up, I love how Evan Rachel Wood's Madonna is portrayed in this. I also love that this is kind of unauthorized, nor was there any communication made with the Mega's pop star about how she was going to be portrayed as a horny lover of Al Yankovic's to controlling villain and antagonist of the entire story. I would hope that Madonna laughs at this, knowing that Al is just doing what Weird Al does. Her arc in this movie is actually even bigger than Weird Al's, and it's kind of wonderful that it's done in this way and just kind of poking fun a little bit at her larger-than-life persona. Finally, the scene that made this one of the funniest movies of the entire year and of a lot of recent years is when Weird Al meets and is ultimately taken under the wing of Dr. Demento to become this giant star. He's invited to this pool party at Rainn Wilson's Dr. Demento's place, who says it's happening at his grotto. Now, you might think that this will be kind of like the Playboy Mansion grotto. That's how Wilson's Dr. Demento is kind of carrying himself in this movie. But no, it's just a pool party at a sort of upper middle class home in suburbia. First off, that's hilarious. But then you get to see a ton of cameos in hilarious roles of other weirdo celebrities. You have Conan O'Brien playing Andy Warhol. You have David Dastmalchian playing Roger Deakins from Queen. You have Dimitri Martin as Tiny Tim. You have Emo Phillips playing Salvador Dali. You have Paul F. Tompkins playing Gallagher. And the best is Jack Black playing Wolfman Jack, who is moved to tears when Weird Al comes up with his Queen parody, Another One Rides the Bus, on the spot to show everyone that he's no flash in the pan. The whole scene is just amazing. Yeah, I kind of gave away the big moment, but all of the rest of the scene is so good that you won't care that I spoiled it. But among the others being portrayed at the party are people like David Bowie, Pee Wee Herman, Divine, Elvira, and Alice Cooper. God, I just love that scene so much. And there are about a dozen other things I could talk about that I loved in Weird, but this would go on forever if I don't start bringing this in for a landing. Suffice it to say, I very, very much like Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. It may not be for everyone. I understand that Weird Al isn't for everyone, though I can't see how that's really the case, but whatever. Obviously, those people don't have a whole lot of fun in life. Now, I do love that there will be some people who don't realize that this is a parody. They'll think that Weird Al really did have a bad upbringing, or that he did have a whirlwind affair with Madonna, or was the favorite performer of Pablo Escobar's. The movie spends maybe the first 20 minutes or so being a little more subtle with the joke. But trust me, when you get to the point in which Weird Al is very obviously laying it on thick that he quote unquote wrote Eat It as a completely original song before Beat It came out, and then gets mad that Michael Jackson parodies him, I sure hope everyone will be on board with the joke by then. Now, this movie will be on my list at year end for the best movies of 2022. It's just fantastically written in Weird Al style and sense of humor. It's shot in a way that both feels like these recent big budget biopics, but also because of the smaller independent budget, it also has sort of the feel of those older TV movie biopics that were around when I was growing up too. So there's something quaint, and it feels kind of good that it is quaint like that. It's a great end product after a very short 18-day film shoot to bring this all together. I'm not going to be able to find a funnier movie this year or any other recent year than Weird. And if you like Weird Al and these recent musical biopics, then I would definitely check this one out for a good laugh. You can get that good laugh for free right now on the Roku channel. Don't forget to follow Film Seizure at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so that you can be made aware of new episodes of our various shows as they drop. You can also follow us at podcast providers like SoundCloud, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, and Audible. You can also listen to the show on YouTube by subscribing there. Now, I'll be back next week with a look at 2 superhero movies. First, I'll catch up on Black Adam, which I saw when it first came out back in October. But I'll also talk about the highly anticipated sequel to one of the 2018 Best Picture Oscar nominees, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So until then, don't forget to save me the aisle seat.